is a royal peace deal in the offing.
Now, this is the blondest that we have ever seen.
5 minutes of reading every day for invaluable benefits for brain health and mental well-being. Just as we always suspected, books are good for us.
The nation is reeling with shock as word spreads of Camilla's alleged attempt to sell Diana's iconic Spencer Tiara.
I've got some troubling news about England's royal family.
One of the crown's most treasured heirlooms. The news struck deep within the House of Windsor, moving Princess Anne to tears and igniting fury across the family.
The monarchy provides, with the Constitution, a degree of long-term stability that is actually quite hard to come by any other way.
To many, it feels more like a betrayal of Diana's memory.
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
What does this jewelry symbolize to the general public? What is the particular truth behind the tiara, and why has the world reacted to it with such tension? Join us as we unravel the event that shook up the monarchy. Whispers on the corridors. Behind the high walls of Buckingham Palace, a quiet conversation has moved around and spread rapidly like never before. These were not about the usual ceremonial plans or banquets that were discussed in the palace. This was something heavier and more sensitive to contain. From little talks, it was revealed by a palace insider that the Queen, Camilla, had brought up a renowned London jeweler for the valuation of this particular Spencer Tiara family piece. The jeweler, having recognized the piece as elegantly crafted radiance, proceeded with further inquiries. The whispers left no room to be dissuaded, as they went round like wildfire. It was believed to have leveraged the usual Camilla versus Diana comparison by the general public. It was also said that Camilla was made to sell the heirloom to dismiss the legacy of Princess Diana.
When I started my public life 12 years ago, I understood the media might be interested in what I did.
The pure significance of the tiara had made the whispers of its sale attempt unbelievable. This news, however, got to the hearing of Princess Anne. It was directly from the London jeweler that Queen Camilla had called for a valuation. The anger in her eyes when she heard the news was impossible to hide. It was also believed that the news was undeniable by the public, as Camilla was seen many times wearing many of the pieces and royal ornaments Diana used to wear. This confusion must have lit the spark of reactions, as the news was a sensitive one. For a whisper to cause such unrest, especially from Princess Anne, it means there's a deeper well of tension. This has forced us to examine this act. How true are these claims? Anne's tears tell a story. After Diana's passing, the tiara was returned to the family's ancestral home. And for the 2 sons of Diana, the heirloom stood as the strong connection to their mother's living moments. It was a stunning piece that became a symbol of her grace and her spirit in the palace. The images of Diana wearing the tiara had seated deeply in the hearts of people. From the moment she walked down the aisle to attending several functions and banquets with it, it has a layered, deep meaning for everyone. With the dedicated legacy to protect all that belonged to the people's princess by all means, selling it off would trigger a message. The deep emotions attached to this tiara are one reason why hushed whispers in the palace have sparked a controversy. In a world where there are different princesses and queens adorned with jewelry and a tiara, the Spencer Tiara stands out. Following a confrontation with Queen Camilla that left Princess Anne in tears, there is a need to understand the significance of this heirloom. This jewelry is not just an ornament, it is the unique regal craftsmanship that was presented to Diana's grandmother, Lady Cynthia Hamilton, in the year 1930. The design is a rare one. No doubt it would catch the attention of anyone who comes across it. On the princess's wedding day, the tiara served as an anchor to her veil as she tied the knot with her husband at St. Paul's Cathedral. Dating back to 1981, the jewelry had represented a family identity. It reflected the noble lineage of the Spencer family. If such a piece posed an importance, why did Queen Camilla make an attempt to sell it? Considering that the artifact represents the royal family beyond personal ownership, what is the Queen's perception toward this dispute? And what turn do you think the controversy will take in the royal family? Perception and controversy. In the royal world, perception is often seen as power. For Queen Camilla, this has always been a hard battle for her to conquer and see through. The majority of the actions she had performed and steps she had taken were seen as room for comparison between her and Diana. Over the years, she had presented herself as a stabilizing presence to the people and to the royal family, particularly King Charles III. She had also taken on a number of royal events and worked hard to soften and keep the monarchy's image. However, to the public, Diana was seen as the innocent, radiant, and compassionate one, whereas Camilla was perceived to be a presenter of scandal and disruption. In times where social media is a preface, rumors can explode into wild tensions within seconds. Royal people had pointed out that Camilla has access to countless jewels within the royal safekeeping. Why then would Diana's tiara become the center of attention of all things? Over again, Queen Camilla is found in a public stir, one that is fueled by the perception of the general public. However, whether the rumors circulating about the jewelry are true or not, Camilla is in a controversy that cannot be easily ignored. However, while everyone tried to silence the ongoing whispers, it was obvious that the public was not giving in to it. The full story is still untold. What if the rumors turn out to be true? What was Princess Anne's approach to this news? Princess Anne's approach. Princess Anne, known as the most hard-working royal in the palace, has been affected by this scandal, where Queen Camilla is placed to be compared side by side with Diana. Anne is compared with nobody else, except by her personal royal standard. Unlike everyone else, usually found in one scandal or the other, Anne's story has been defined by duty and relentless commitment to the monarch. While she does not seek the spotlight, her avoidance of it has placed her in an unshakable position. However, the belief in stoicism of the princess is what made this issue a lot more serious. If a princess could break down in tears after hearing that there is an attempt to sell the tiara, how much more will every other member of the public feel? For Anne, each piece of ancient jewelry has its own representation, most especially the ones that carry a huge weight of continuity in the family. Parting ways or trying to sell such things would put the family legacy on the line. Despite Anne and Diana's relationship being tagged as complex, as people would say, they had different personalities and approaches. The breakdown of Anne was rare to imagine. It was a heartbreak no one saw coming. The princess is usually known to respect what Diana represented, and this tiara to her was not left behind. It was a projection of the heart that carried the crown's image into the hearts of millions of people. If someone as composed and resilient as the Princess Royal is shaken, it signals that something terribly troubling has taken place. Her emotions embody what many ordinary people feel, from silent grief to frustration and disbelief that a jewel so tied to Diana could ever be treated as disposable. Yet, in this rare vulnerability, the monarchy is presented to the public as not just an institution, but a family. What do you think of Princess Anne's reaction? How else do you think every member of the royal family and the general public reacted to this? The palace reaction. Whenever a controversy erupts within the palace, the first thing is to check the system on which the words are based. The dilemma that the rumor had caused cannot be easily ignored. Palace aides worked quickly to manage the narrative, issuing carefully worded responses that neither confirmed nor denied the reports. This cautious tone has only added fuel to public speculation. The absence of a firm denial allowed the story to linger in headlines far longer than anyone inside the palace would have wished. At the end of it all, the backlash had grown into something impossible to overlook. The Spencer Tiara was now more than an heirloom. It had become a rallying point for public sentiment, a reminder that Diana's legacy still dominates. Within the family, the reported reaction of Princess Anne may have deepened the sense of unease. Notable that the royals are used to disagreements, but when such emotions spill into visible distress, it signals a fracture. Courtiers would fear the optics. If even a senior royal appeared shaken, what message would that send to the public? This was not only about jewels or personal sentiment, it was about the image of unity. The monarchy's strength lies in projecting cohesion, even when disagreements exist in private. In the end, the palace's reaction was likely to lean on its best-known solution: silence. The institution avoids giving legitimacy to the rumor while allowing the storm to gradually fade by not accepting or denying the claim. But silence has a cost. To many observers, it can appear evasive, even totally dismissive of the public's thoughts and opinions. And so the palace found itself caught in a familiar trap. Damned if it speaks, and damned if it does not. No other way to go about it. The tension between Anne and Camilla had become a loud, unspoken truth. One that is held in between avoidable glances and schedules kept away from each other's meetings. It was at this point that a higher-up had to interfere. Inside Buckingham Palace, Queen Elizabeth had decided to step in before the matter escalated further than it currently is. The Queen had summoned a private meeting with very few persons aware of it, and even understood why the meeting was called for. Princess Anne was called in first, and she wasted no time speaking openly about her perceptions and thoughts. She had also mentioned how it started: an encounter with the jeweler and a confrontation made to Camilla, while the Queen listened without interruptions. Later that day, Camilla was called in. The Queen's tone was noticeably not judgmental nor confrontational about the sale attempts. She had simply reminded Camilla about the value of certain symbols in the royal palace. She also mentioned their significance and how they're irreplaceable. It was a sense of duty and perception as she gently spoke about it. The incident, to the royals, became more than a question of jewelry. It became a test of whether the monarchy could still navigate scandal with quiet control. The quiet control that King Charles III had managed to set up since the beginning of his reign. The same quiet control that once shielded it from collapse. How do you think the matter should be addressed? Should they issue a denial to suppress the outrage? Should Camilla be shielded from criticism or left to navigate the storm herself? What does the external tension say? If the palace sought silence, the outside world would totally have the opposite of it. The moment the whispers of Queen Camilla's alleged attempt to sell Diana's tiara reached the press, it went around in headlines and on airwaves. News and media splashed the story with dramatic language. Commentators filled talk shows with heated debate, and social media sparked with fury. For the public, the story became just another entry in the long and often turbulent history of the royal family. But for Anne, it marked a turning point she would not forget. She had stood her ground for something she believed in, knowing that the cost would be measured not in money. Across the world, people who had never met Diana but felt touched and bound to her story reacted as though a personal loss was being revisited. The public anger showed that Diana's legacy remains as alive as ever. A force that can shake up the monarchy's salient foundations. The traditional media was no gentler about it. Some media outlets issued the story as yet another example of the monarchy drifting away from the promised values of service and continuity. Others sharpened the comparison between Diana and Camilla, framing Camilla as once again in conflict with the image of the beloved late princess. From the look of things, this outcry did not remain in the realm of gossip. The message was clear. This was not just about a family matter, but about something the public felt belonged to them too. The cry was to leave the tiara untouched. In a media landscape where stories flare and vanish within hours, the persistence of this controversy struck a chord. The public's roar was not simply about jewelry or about Camilla. Maybe it was about it, but something deeper was added. The trust about history and about whether the monarchy understood the emotional bond that still ties millions of people to Diana's legacy. What do you think is the absolute truth? The verifiable truth? Preservation, not sale. The monarchy has always presented itself as timeless, an institution not prone to the turbulence of ordinary life. Yet, moments like this reveal the fragility of it. The crown survives not through absolute power, but through public consent and the belief that it represents continuity, dignity, tradition, and strong values. Nevertheless, when that belief is shaken, even whispers can destroy the foundations. The alleged attempt to sell Diana's tiara struck a nerve because it highlighted a tension the monarchy has long struggled to resolve. And it is nowhere different from the pull between heritage and modernization. On one hand, the crown seeks to adapt to the realities of a new century, opening itself to scrutiny and presenting itself as relevant. On the other hand, it depends on symbols, jewels, ceremonies, and ancient rituals to justify its existence. Diana's memory is a case in point. Decades after her death, she remains more popular than many of the royals who still serve. The monarchy's fragility lies in this truth. It must move forward, yet every step risks appearing as if it is trampling the past. What makes this fragility even sharper and obvious to everyone is the speed of modern communication. The tiara story demonstrates how the monarchy's every move is seen, amplified, and judged across millions of screens. In such a climate, even silence becomes an answer, and often not a favorable one. The monarchy's vulnerability is not only external, but also internal. As seen in the emotional response of Princess Anne, the institution is not immune to fractures within its own walls. Critics argue that these recurring controversies expose a deeper weakness. It reveals the monarchy's inability to escape the shadow of Diana. Every new scandal seems to circle back to her legacy, reminding the world that she remains the most powerful figure in modern royal history. That, in itself, is destabilizing. How can the institution move forward if its greatest symbol is someone no longer here? The factual verified story of the Spencer Tiara is one of preservation and continuity. Its custodian, Charles Spencer, has consistently acted as a diligent person. The tiara remains at Althorpe. Its use by Lady Charlotte Spencer in 2023 was a powerful statement of its status. It was not locked away or sold. It was used exactly as an heirloom should be. Its main purpose is to honor a family tradition. This single act, reported by the media, completely invalidates the core thesis of the viral rumor of Queen Camilla's attempt to sell the treasure. This verification also lays claim to her word to Princess Anne about the heirloom not being for sale. The tiara's legacy is secure. It symbolizes Diana's origins, and its future involves careful preservation, occasional display, and use by future generations of the Spencer women. The tears in this story are not just those of Princess Anne, but perhaps the frustrated tears of those who wish the monarchy's story were not real. Resting in its velvet case deep within the vault, it was safe from harm, but removed from the life it once knew. It would no longer catch the light at state banquets or be admired in glass cases by members of the public. It was now a relic, treasured yet untouchable, much like the relationships it had come to symbolize, preserved but irrevocably changed. The Spencer tiara is safe, and as it should be, it is protected by the Spencer family, who have owned it for generations. Its story is not one of scandal, but of stability, a quiet, loyal endurance that stands in clear contrast to the noisy, fleeting chaos of internet rumors. Now, if such rumors about jewelry can provoke a princess to tears, what does that say about the strength of the bonds holding the crown together? Keeping the heirloom safe. now that the controversy about selling the heirloom has been debunked. At the heart of the tiara controversy lies the Spencer family that has safeguarded it for generations. Unlike every other piece of crown jewelry, which is held in trust for the nation, the Spencer tiara has always belonged to Diana's royal lineage. Its ownership rests with the family, making them the ultimate gatekeepers of a piece of history that carries such a great emotional and cultural weight on the people. The Spencers have long been protective of their heritage. The tiara was created in the year 1930 from older family jewelry. It was passed down through the generations and eventually came into Diana's possession. While she wore it on iconic occasions, including her wedding, she did not outrightly own it. The family retained ultimate authority over its care, use, and disposition, far from the rumors. This custodianship is significant. Any decision regarding the tiara cannot be made single-handedly by members of the royal household, including the Queen Consort. The Spencers' role still stands, and it is to ensure that the jewel remains a symbol of family pride and continuity, rather than an item for transactional gain or family dispute. Their involvement acts as a guaranteed safeguard, preventing disputes or misuse. Alongside this has helped to maintain the integrity of the family legacy. The controversy also highlights a subtle tension. While the monarchy wields huge ceremonial authority, it does not automatically control every artifact associated with its members. Royal artifacts remain an item of the royal collection. The Spencers' stewardship represents an important boundary, one that preserves the historical and emotional significance of the tiara. Without their oversight, the line between personal property and cultural treasure could be easily blurred and diminished. No doubt, the public perception further elevates the Spencers' role. Fans of Diana often view the family as guardians, not only of jewelry, but of her memory itself. Their position reinforces the notion that the monarchy is accountable to history and sentiment. In this way, the Spencers serve as both custodians and protectors of a piece that stretches beyond palace walls. The family's influence is also practical. Any legitimate decision to sell, loan, or display the tiara requires consultation with them, which is certified now. Their approval, or lack thereof, determines the jewelry's fate and brings accurate calls to order if a rumor like this ever comes up again. In this light, whispers of Camilla attempting to sell the tiara become all the more contentious, not only because of public emotion, but also because such a move would overstep the Spencers' authority. According to Queen Camilla, in her response to the rumors, the Spencer tiara, she insisted, had never been intended for sale. The request to the jeweler, she explained, was part of a routine insurance process, a standard valuation designed to ensure that the piece was properly catalogued and protected for the future. It was clearly for further preservation, and not by any chance for sale. Ultimately, the Spencer family now embodies the intersection of private ownership and public symbolism. Sounds like a duty of responsibility and accountability. They remind the world that some treasures are not only objects of wealth, but also vessels of memory, carrying the weight of generations. Their role ensures that Diana's legacy, embedded in that sparkling tiara, remains under the protection of those who truly understand its meaning. This jewelry is more than ornaments. They are witnesses, holding secrets the public will never fully know. Perhaps that is why this moment matters. It is not just about a tiara. It is about loyalty, legacy, and the quiet battles fought far from the public eye. And what do you think about the perception of the general public towards Queen Camilla? Do you think it is right to attach the ownership of a monarch's artifacts to one person? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.